All right, so today I want to do another 10-minute teardown. 10-minute teardown, if you haven't been around, is a 5 to 10-minute conversation about a piece of copy, a website page, or some marketing content from VCs or private equity firms. And today I want to look at this recent blog post from NfX. NfX is obviously a marquee investor, but they've done some really interesting things with this post that I want to comment on. And I think there's some things here that would be very useful, even if you don't have a powerhouse team running content, running marketing like NfX does. If you're a smaller, regional, mid-sized investor who wants to publish, there's some great takeaways for you here as well. So let's first just talk high level. This post is on brand for NfX. So that's one of the most important things. They know their brand. They know that they want to get behind companies, often platform-driven companies that have network effects built into their core business model. So this is a story that aligns with that. So make sure that what you're producing is on brand. If you don't know yours, then you need to do some upstream work to figure out what is it that we're about, what is it that we have perspective on, where do we have established expertise, how do we want the market to see us. Answer those sorts of brand and kind of strategic questions first so that you're informing content. Of course, that'll help you generate more content ideas, topics, themes like that anyway. The other thing they do here, this is actually an article that was written from a interview, a podcast actually, between one of NfX's partners, and the founder of House Party, Ben Rubin, I believe. So what they've done here is they've taken a conversation, they've recognized that their audience is going to be interested in content, is going to digest and ingest content in different ways. So some like to listen to podcast conversations on their commute. Others like to read, like to scan, like to take these in, like I did. Actually, I found it on LinkedIn as I was scanning through on the mobile device. So it made it very simple. But here's what they didn't do. They didn't take a podcast and just copy and paste a transcript. In fact, they made this piece valuable in of itself. So it's substantive, it's interesting, and they've done enough here where I can actually read this and see what they say here. Ben and I sat down together for this podcast. It's the real story that founders never get to hear. We've organized his insights below, but the podcast itself is worth listening to. So they've made this piece valuable by itself on a standalone basis. Ideally, somebody reads this and is intrigued, wants to know more, perhaps fill in some of the blanks, and then indulges in the podcast as well. So it's a really smart way of both repurposing content, but also meeting your audience where they are. Okay, so we're going to just scroll down and go through this here, but look at this top section. In essentially 3 paragraphs, I have the distilled story. Okay, I can kind of see first that House Party is a credible, interesting, substantial story. They do that with some of these quantitative numbers, these metrics. Number 1 social app, 1,600% growth, right, leading in 82 countries. So we know that this is a topic worth discussing. And then as they get down here, look at this little founder's journey section. And basically, what is this, 10 bullet points or so? I have the entire House Party narrative, the founder's journey. Okay, so we have a little bit of this classic story arc. Okay, the founding, the challenges, the pivot, the tension of building a product in 2 months, and then culminating in the company being the subject of an intense bidding war. Okay, so very quickly, very easily, they've distilled down key points, and I see sort of the whole story arc. I can decide if it's interesting to me. There's enough that hooks me here that I'm interested in moving on. In terms of hook 2, let's look actually. I want to address this at the title. So they were really thoughtful in this title, The Insider Story of House Party. Anytime you can create this air of exclusivity, right? Talking about an insider, something that not everybody has access to. People want to feel part of something smaller, something exclusive, something different. So you do that, then there's a natural hook there. Okay, so some really smart things here. As we go down, I want to share how they use subheadings here. So I really like this bold subheading here. First of all, very practically, it's easy. There's natural breaks and pauses that then are created by using subheadings in this bullet style. The cadence and rhythm is predictable. Okay, so I'm not thrown off. There's not a cognitive drain for me to figure out what's going on. And so the pace is very smooth for me here. But let's look at this subheading. So they could have said something like, and you'd likely see, in fact, you would probably write something like this if you've blogged or written essays or articles in the past, is maybe something like building products, something generic, right? A statement, or the next frontier. But they use this subheading to actually tease out a question: how to build products in this next frontier that can bring people together in the most human way possible when they're physically apart. Okay, so this by itself is actually additive to the story. They are addressing a question that founders may be wrestling with, building products in the next frontier, in the new reality we have. Anyone that wants to build a human-centered product, which is many founders today, this will connect with, and they're doing it and contending with this new dynamic of being physically apart. So they actually hit all of those elements in the subheading. Okay, stylistically, there's some nice things here. This bold sentence is an easy lead for me. And look at how they didn't create a bunch of really dense block left align text. Okay, I would love to see actually a little bit more space here. I think it would make this just a tad bit easier from a sort of a visual design aesthetic standpoint. But these are easy kind of bite-sized paragraphs, and really no more, maybe 6 to 7 lines. And even these are interesting, right? So define the questions, not the answers. They have these pithy, memorable sort of soundbite phrases here instead of writing this in sort of full essay format. Okay. I mean, yeah, look what they did. Adding more dishes to the menu will not make the restaurant successful. Okay, so these are things that they're memorable. I can hook into them, and I'm actually, if you ask me in a couple of minutes what my takeaways are, I probably will be able to recall some of these things. Right. I like this down here. So let's look at subheading again, but look at the phrasing here: a sneak peek inside Ben's mind. Why this works again is sneak peek means this is access not everybody gets. So they're reinforcing that idea of you're getting a view of something that is special, right? But also notice here, I wouldn't care about this earlier in this piece because I don't know who Ben is. Okay, so now that I know who Ben is, now that we've established Ben's credibility, we've verified him as legit, and we see what he's done, this becomes valuable to me. I actually do want a look inside Ben's mind. So be careful with how you phrase things and make sure that you've effectively introduced so maybe the protagonist of your story or individuals such that it's warranted or a reader desires to move forward. Okay. Let's go down here again. Look at that Friday night 7 p.m. phone call. Okay, so there's some ambiguity there. What does that mean? Right, I'm drawn in. So you have this nice pace and forward momentum in this piece. As we scroll down, I want to just address something at the bottom here. Look at how. So if the idea is that this is written to founders, prospective founders, somebody like that, look at how they've, in an unobtrusive way, have this sort of footer image, an easy, frictionless way for me to apply to pitch an NfX partner, and also this kind of interesting chat feature over here as well. Okay, so if they understand their audience, they know who they're going after, and they are able to shape my path to connect with them simply in a way that's not it's not confusing. It doesn't impact the way that I read this piece. So a lot of good things here. Okay. Where I would say I would try to improve this is some of these boxes where they're trying to offer me, grab my email, get me on the newsletter, email lists, and offer these PDFs. So 3 rules for creating a great social product. That's fine. It's probably connected, but there it is again on repeat. And then we go up here. Now I see key observations for the next social era. I suppose that's interesting, but it is a little bit of I would say a little bit of a nuisance to have this piece broken up by these. Okay. Now this piece, is that the same as the one below? Is it the same as the 1-2 below? So now the call to action has essentially been to download 3 or 4 different things. But otherwise, there's a lot of great takeaways here. That is a lengthy piece, but a piece someone's going to continue through because it's not intimidating. the information is interesting, and there's nice pace and momentum in it. Okay, so apply those as you're writing, and keep an eye out for other things from NfX because they do a really good job structuring their pieces. All right, that's all for now. Talk to you later.